It takes one time for something to happen and your whole life will change. You might survive, but the internal wounds last a very long time and it can screw you up to where you can't maintain a good relationship. You're over exaggerate on your children, then they get this situation and it just starts going and going and going. To be honest with you, in these situations, these assaults, a lot of it is definitely internal, the stuff we don't see and we don't talk about it a lot, but that's where a lot of it is. Our physical body heals usually. Internally, man, it takes a way longer time to heal from, and that is something to think about. The key is know about it, have that situational awareness, and just like, hey, this could happen. What are my contingencies? What have I put in place before the situation to prepare myself in case this comes up? What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Unafraid podcast. I have Josh back again. We're going to do our second podcast over scenario training. We've got 3 this time. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. One of them, I think it's the second scenario we discussed, has been a huge concern, especially for females. Since Contingent Group has been around, we constantly get this request. Can you please talk about this? Can you please talk about this? So we're gonna talk about that. But before we start, I want to put out that we have a Patreon. Unafraid has a Patreon account. And if you don't know what that is, it's a way for you become a member. There is a subscription. There's a $5 subscription and a $25 subscription per month. And we kind of took everything and we're putting it out there on that platform. So we're going to do stuff that's from Contingent Group. So we do situational awareness and a lot of that stuff that pertains to Contingent Group, security, safety stuff, self-defense, all kinds of good jazz. And then Unafraid, so motivation, accountability, inspiration, team building, things that we should be implementing that society is really trying to take away. We're going to help implement that, and a great way to hold you accountable, give you certain tasks to try, take it to your family and just make a better you, work on that foundation. So if you want to subscribe, we put some good stuff on there. Just started it probably a week or 2 ago, but become a member. That would be awesome. All right. So to the podcast, the scenario training, we got 3, as we said, 3 scenarios. So, and before we begin, and we'll mention this throughout, situation dictates in everything we talk about. We are not lawyers. Every jurisdiction is different, so take that into consideration. What we say on here is more of a, hey, this is what we would do, some considerations. You will come up with some stuff that we probably maybe not even thought of, and I'm sure we'll come up with stuff that maybe you haven't thought of. But please take that as it is. Situation always dictate. We can what if to death, which is great to do in your head or with a buddy, but we would just go on for days, possibly years.
Oh, for sure. So. It's cool. When I went to go take a look at these scenarios, just scrolling through the comments, there's a bunch of stuff that subscribers are putting into the comments that I didn't even think of.
It's good stuff. I mean, it's definitely good stuff. All right. So you want to read off the first scenario for today?
The first one's based on a rideshare. So Uber, Lyft, any of those. You just spent a night out with friends. You do the responsible thing and call your favorite rideshare company to take you home. After you get into the rideshare, you pull up your app and you start tracking your route. The driver turns off the predetermined route and doesn't say anything, but they're no longer following the GPS directions. Some of the considerations, at this point, they've turned...
Sorry. So this is posted on Contingent Group Media, so Facebook, Instagram. So we're pulling our scenarios. If you don't know, we're pulling those scenarios from Contingent Group. Sorry about that, man. I put that out there. Go for it.
No. So kind of some of the things that we considered, are you concerned about your safety at this point? Is the driver just maybe trying to find a better route, or are they looking for a secluded place to harm you? Or what's your line? Where are you deciding, all right, things are too weird now. I got to take action.
What would you do? So we're driving along. You give them the directions or the address. You don't say, let's just say you don't see them put up their Waze, which is an app, a direction app that kind of is a live feed of construction, traffic. And if you don't have Waze on your phone, it's an app. I would highly recommend you get it. It's definitely better than Google Maps, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is the thing to get. If you don't see that stuff, which should be a clue right off the bat, what's your gut instinct? What do you do?
Well, this did talk about, just in the scenario you put in there, that they were, you pull up your own app and you start tracking your route. I think that's like huge, that I'm not going to trust that they're just going to take me where I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
They've already pulled it up and they know, like they're already keen on the fact that we're off route, which is awesome. Immediately I'm going to start asking questions. I'm not going to wait. If I look up and the road's not closed, there's no detour or anything like that, I'm already asking questions like, hey, why are we turning off the route?
Mm-hmm.
Even before, I got to be honest with you, before I even get into the Uber, I'm going to do.
Yeah, let's start in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Let's start what happens before I even do this. All right. So the first instance, you've just spent a night out with your friends. So we'll just assume drinking's a part of that, because that's usually what, we do. So what would be best case would be have a buddy, DD, be
Correct.
the designated driver, so we don't have to worry about the situation whatsoever.
Right.
But we didn't do that.
Right.
All right. So what do we do?
So, you're doing a good thing by getting your rideshare anyway. But one thing that I'm going to do before I even get into the car is I'm going to take a look. When you open the door, you can see the child safety lock on cars. Make sure that the child safety lock is off.
What if it's dark?
If it's dark, you can use your phone to light it up and take a look. It'll be a simple switch. It's not going to be hidden or anything like that. Flip that off if it's on. It should never be on. I got to tell you, if it's on, I'm not getting in that Uber.
Yeah.
Because if they have a bunch of trips, there's no reason why that's even on in the first place. After I get in, I'm going to double check. I'm going to pop the door. I'll close the door and then I'll pop it back open. Make sure that I can work the lock. And then I'll also check the window and make sure that he unlocks the windows before I even get in. So kind of like those pre-checks. You can always, in both apps, I think both Lyft and Uber, you can send your route to a friend.
Yep.
So I would immediately do that. And then I would say something, either get on the phone and call a friend, or mention to the Uber driver, hey, how long is this going to take? My friends are waiting on me. So whether they are or not, or my family member's waiting for me, so whether they are or not, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Because you're just kind of putting it in their head. Somebody's going to be watching for them. That's kind of what I have for the pre-checks, actually.
Yeah. That's definitely biggest I have sharing your, you got to remember, you do this ride share, you're getting in a car, and chances are they're a complete stranger. Complete stranger on this. So especially if you're overseas, right? Complete stranger. Look at these Americans or wherever you are, whatever, where you come from. They're so-and-so. They kind of can own you, especially if you're oblivious. We're mostly in our phone, we're texting, we're playing freaking Candy Crush or whatever it is. And we're not really paying attention, but it is you need to share that app and even get on the phone before you go, hey, I just got in the Uber or the Lyft and I'll be there. How long, driver? And already, if the driver was possibly going to do something, now right off the bat, they're like, crap, somebody knows about me. I'll be pulling up in a white freaking Nissan, white Nissan Sentra. What kind of we got California tags or whatever it is. And right there, we're telling somebody right in front of our driver that we are already given a description of their car. And that right there is a huge deterrent versus if you do nothing and you remain quiet.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm I'm obviously a control freak, and I hate Ubers in the first place.
Right.
Just because I don't like being in somebody else's car. I just don't like other people driving, period.
You need to work on that control issues. Does your girlfriend have a problem with that? Do you try to control your girlfriend?
Only in driving.
I've got a good counselor for you.
only in driving.
We all have a little bit of control issues. Guilty.
But yeah, those are good points. Like I said, they're going to look for an easy target. They're going to look for somebody that's extra intoxicated and just not prepared. If you just kind of put it out there that you're prepared, that you have these safety measures in mind, it's going to go a long way to deter a lot of stuff.
And so will be if I travel with more than myself. If I'm with a couple people, that's obviously going to be a huge deterrent because we can overpower if need be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, riding home in a ride share by yourself after you're been out drinking late at night, like just like you said, avoid it in the first place at all costs.
Another thing too is build rapport. One thing we were taught when I was going through SEER school, which is kind of like you get captured by the bad guy. What do? Like obviously try to escape and survive and all that good stuff, but also is build rapport. Is the goal is to make them your captors to see you as a human being and not as a piece of meat or a possession. So you're building that rapport is like you're asking them a question. How's your family? If they have a picture, ask them about it. Get it on them to where they're everyone loves to talk about themselves, plain and simple. And I always like to do the 80-20 rule. Like they talk 80% of the time, I'll talk 20. Fire off some questions. They're engaged, and that could be enough to get them off of what they possibly were going to do. And it's just good common courtesy to like be nice to people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So just build that rapport. It's just one of the things. Again, what I'm saying is don't be a jerk. That's what I'm pretty much saying. And don't brag about like money, possessions, like you're on the phone. Oh gosh, we just got paid, yada, yada, yada. Like whatever. You just like, don't do that. That's just, shouldn't do that anywhere, especially in someone else's car that has you in a metal coffin taking you somewhere.
What are you kind of thinking? What's kind of your line?
So and to be honest with you, I don't check the safety. I don't check the windows. I'm like, dude, just give me. Usually it's like when I'm using this, I'm flying into a foreign city. I got my luggage. I just want to go to my hotel.
Right.
And honestly, usually after flying and drinking all the coffee, I just have to go to the bathroom. And I just want to get there. I just want to get checked in. I want to, whatever it is, eat some food, take a nap, work out.
Yeah.
Get ready for whatever meeting or whatever.
About safety
I'm not really thinking, and that is just the truth. But at the same time, I do pull up the route. I do that, and I do make sure that I can see their route.
Okay.
Because I'll even ask them, like, hey, what do you use for navigation since you do this? And I'll just like, I'm not blatantly, hey, where's your navigation, man? I feel weird. I'm just like, what do you use for navigation? And the guy could be like, oh, I use Waze, and he shows it to me or something. I've had that happen before. It's just so you're tracking, they know what's going on, and you can do a voice text. Hey, bro, I'm sending you my route. I should be to you. And how long, sir? 10 minutes? 10 minutes. And there we go. Usually that's it. But I don't check that stuff, and I should, especially in foreign countries. Absolutely in foreign countries. But if for some reason I'm preoccupied, whatever it is, and I don't do that, and all of a sudden we're getting off a highway and we're going somewhere else, and it just seems weird, I'm going to ask, like, hey, what's going on? And if they make up an excuse, like, all traffic, I will check my route or pull up my route and plug it in, see what it's got going on. If it's not, then I think that's the decision point. Yeah. Is if it comes to a stop and I say I can't get out, we'll just go worst case. I can't get out of the car. Okay. I'm fighting. Yeah. I'm choking people out from back. I'm doing something. Yeah. I'm not. Because once you get to a certain point, there is a thing called point of no return, and usually when you get if you get snatched and you're in that vehicle, that's bad. Yeah. Like just getting the difference between being outside of the vehicle and being inside of a vehicle are two different things, and already you have lost an upper hand. You are inside the vehicle, and they can kind of work with you. So, am I going to start choking the dude out if we're going 90 miles an hour? Probably not. But again, situation dictates. What does my gut tell me to do? When the opportunity pops up? And that's a big thing is, when's the opportunity? You got to be waiting for it. You got to be watching it. When is that opportunity? Plain and simple. Yeah. You can't do nothing. You got to do something. Right. Even if it's just sitting there and planning something, you need to be doing something. As I always say, shoot, move, and communicate. You should be doing one of those three things. Yeah. And even if you're wrong and you look like an idiot, exactly, and you bail out, and he had no ill intentions. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's your life at that point. It's your life, not his feelings. Yeah. So that's me. That's my personal opinion. I mean, it's such a broad situation dictates kind of thing, but I think it's worth talking about. Like checking the safety locks. Before we started talking, to be honest with you, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I mean, but it's true. It's like a cop car, right? Can't get out.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And like, I just won't do, there's things that I'm just not going to get into. So I don't think I'd ever get into a position where I wouldn't be able to get out of the car because I've already done my checks where I know that I can get out, worst case scenario. So that being said, if he's going off route, he's not responding to me, or I don't believe his story. As soon as that car slows down enough for me to bail out, I'm just going to
Bail out.
Yeah. And then absolute worst case scenario, for some reason, like you said, preoccupied or whatever, you get stuck in there. Like you said, situation will dictate, but there's no way you can let them get to where they want to take you.
Yeah.
Because everything just gets worse.
Another tool to keep on you can keep those little glass breaks.
Sure.
And just pop the window. And I mean, where you get cut up, but getting a couple cuts is way better than, I don't know, getting beheaded or held for ransom or whatever it may be, depending on your
CG Unafraid pens.
Yeah, CG. That's always something.
The spikes. Yep.
Big on, and that's why we made it to not look like, as I always say, Transformers appendage. It's a I wish we had one. Is a pin, and it's just a
spike.
Yeah, it's a spike that can seriously jack some people up, nail them in the temple, eyeball, or just even driving it into someone's body anywhere does not feel good. I've had it done many times. It doesn't feel good. So, but yeah. But there's a lot, and there's a lot more we can discuss on that. But I mean, please comment on this, we'll answer them. Yeah. We need to get better at that.
Like you said, there's just so many different scenarios that you could play out in your head. If you think that it doesn't happen, I pulled up some stats.
Yeah, what are the stats on this?
So Uber last year in 2020 reported 141 rapes and 998 sexual assault allegations. So not to say...
Is that from drivers or...
Drivers as suspects.
Gotcha.
And then Lyft reported from 2017 to 2019, there was 360 reported rapes and 4,100, almost 4,200 reports of sexual assault. So that's not to scare you away from them, and we don't know the stats on how many of those were real or they were just allegations. But, I mean, it is clear that things can happen in rideshare. I mean, it is what it is, so just be prepared. Just be ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, stuff happens in broad daylight, middle of the day in a grocery store in aisle 4. Yeah. So, it can happen. The key is to be know about it, have that situational awareness, or SA we call it, and just like, hey, this could happen. What are my contingencies? What have I put in place before the situation to prepare myself in case this comes up? Is it unlikely? It is unlikely, but guess what? It takes one time for something to happen and your whole life will change. You might survive, but the internal wounds last a very long time, and it can screw you up to where you can't maintain a good relationship. You're over exaggerate on your children, then they get this situation, and it just starts going and going and going. So that, to be honest with you, in these situations, these assaults, a lot of it is definitely internal, the stuff we don't see and we don't talk about it a lot, but that's where a lot of it is. And it's our physical body heals usually. Internally, man, it takes a way longer time to heal from, and that is something to think about. So, and this kind of goes, so you, for people that are just saying nasty things to other people, dude, and especially if it's your significant other, they don't forget. A lot of you are like, oh my gosh, she's still bringing up, or he's still bringing up stuff from 10 years ago. It's so true. Yeah. Like once those words come out, man, and that it's the same thing as if this stuff happens, it hurts internally. Totally went off on a tangent on that one. My apologies.
It's fine.
But at the same time, it's worth noting. All right, so are we good on that one?
I think so, yeah.
All right, so the second scenario, this is the one that we mentioned in the beginning that has been discussed, commented on. Please talk about this. So here we are. We are going to talk about it, and we call it the grocery store. Want me to read? I'll read this post off. All right, so this was posted on Contingent Group. The old date, October 8th. I'm sorry, October 4th. All right, so here it is. So this is big for ladies and just fathers if you're by yourself. Or just for anyone, because you don't have to have a child for this one. We just added the child to make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
All right. You've just finished up grabbing some groceries with your toddler, who is sitting in the child seat of the cart. You are loading your groceries into your car, right? So I want you to think about, is that in the back seat? Is that in the trunk? Maybe it's in the front seat. I don't know. But think about your situation. So you're loading the groceries and then into the car, and then someone gets the jump on you, most likely because you weren't paying attention, which happens all the time because you're just looking at those that box of cereal that looks so freaking good. As soon as you get home, you're going to down it, right? Cinnamon Toast Crunch, what? The assailant is armed with a gun and starts pushing you into the car as he threatens to shoot you and your toddler if you do not comply.
Yeah.
So I've got a gun to you. Yeah. I'm making you get in the car. Like, I'm feeling pretty helpless right there.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty helpless. All right. It is clear to you the assailant is attempting to abduct you. What's your move? That's a lot to unpack right there. That's a lot to unpack right there. All right. So we put additional considerations on there. Is a certain level of compliance possibly necessary for a positive outcome, or is compliance off the table for you? Does your plan change if there is more than one assailant? What things could we all do to be more vigilant so that people don't even have the chance to get the jump on us? So those are the considerations that we put underneath that post. So let's talk about preemptive strike here. Like, what should we do? Let's just paint the picture. We got to go to the grocery store. We found out today that tomorrow sometime we need to go to the grocery store. So how do we handle that? What's the best way?
The best way, first thing would be try to go during the day.
Absolutely. Yep. That is key.
Yep. Go during the day. It's just not that crime doesn't happen in the day, not that abductions don't happen during the day. It's just less likely. You're able to kind of spot suspicious behavior easier and stuff like that. So, but if you can't and you got to go at night, park up close to the door. If you can, park under lights. Don't park in between two big SUVs or something like that.
Yeah.
And then as you're shopping, just be vigilant about who's around you. I mean, if you keep every aisle that you go into, you kind of see the same dude lurking past you. That could be an indication that they're kind of scoping you out and kind of waiting for you. Especially if they're on the phone, they may be talking to a secondary suspect out in the parking lot.
Secondary bad guy. That's what I meant to say. Police suspect. Yeah, we're good.
So then as I get out of the store, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to pause for a second and just kind of scan the parking lot. Look for people lurking around that just you can tell who's walking to their car or walking into the store. Anybody that's just kind of pacing around the parking lot, they may just be trying to, door check and burglarize cars or whatever, but I'm not going out there if I see any of that. And I'm going to I know the general area where I park my car. As I continue to walk towards my car, I'm going to keep your head on a swivel. Just be paying attention. It sounds like, it says in the scenario, someone got the jump on you. So you're clearly head down, you're on your phone, you're doing something. Just stay off the phone until you can get the groceries loaded, get your kid in the car, and get safely in the car with the doors locked. So one of the biggest things would just be avoidance is always best. I mean, we don't want to be looking for a fight, and we need to lift pick your eyes up, look around, and just be paying attention as you're getting to your car. That would solve a ton of these. You?
No, I think I have here on my notes, preventative, and that's where you kind of go with avoid. And we can't always go to the grocery store in the middle of the day because honestly, we don't know what we want for dinner. It's like after work, I'm going to pick it up. If it's wintertime, obviously it gets darker sooner. So we just don't have that option. All right. And to be honest with you, we don't plan our grocery store usually about like daytime or nighttime hours, but it's kind of like the gas station thing. Like try to fill up during the day versus at night, at midnight on a country road by yourself. Like it's not good. It's like the typical scary movie, right? Like, why am I walking in the barn with all these chainsaws? So, but obviously we often don't think that far in advance, which is obviously to keep our sanity and it's also bad too at the same time. But preventative is hugely, I go during the daylight hours as well, park under the lights, not near like the same thing. Is more like be visible to innocent bystanders.
Yeah.
We talk about this in contingent group on other posts. It's called CPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And the way that is if you have, and some of you could probably think about this in office buildings, in like malls, there are certain areas that are not observed by outside influence. So like a stairwell is a great, like fire escapes, like somebody going in the stairs, if you can think of like a hotel, like for a fire, like to get out, there's not a lot of cameras. There's not a lot of people. It's usually empty.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a great place for a crime to happen because people don't want to get caught.
Sure.
So, and it's the same thing on buildings. If you have a building where there's no windows, on the other side of that is where crime could be prevalent to happen because no one can see them. Now, if I put on all these windows, now every one of these windows is a possible eyeball that can see me doing something bad. So that's why I say stay open where people can see you for that very reason. Another thing that I'm big on, especially for women, if they have children, because a lot of women are afraid to have certain self-defense weapons. One, they don't have the training, therefore they're scared, which is honestly shame on you. There's no reason to be scared. You just need to get trained up on it, plain and simple. But is those alarms, those personal alarms, I think those things for this scenario are so good because if that alarm goes off, everybody even remotely close is going to automatically look in that direction, and it could be enough to scare someone away. Is it going to do anything to hurt the No, the perpetrator, the bad guy, the assailant? No. But again, a lot of people do not want to get caught. Now, some people that if they're on drugs or like mentally whacked out, they don't care. Or if you have something that they want and they're going for you specifically, then they don't care. But that is a layer of defense, a deterrent, for sure. So I want to speak on this because some of you know I was a single dad for like pretty much the better part of 10 years. And when I became a single dad, I had a 10-month-old son, I had a 5-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old daughter. So I get this scenario very well. I do. Yes, I'm a dude, and yes, I can at times jack people up if I need to. So it's different than a female. But I still think about it because chances are if somebody's coming to get me, it's going to be more than one person, I would think. Right. All right. So I think in that realm. First, I'm always carrying. For that, like the scenario shows, they got a gun to me. I might comply, find that opening, and pull out my firearm, engage. I don't know. Situation will dictate. But preventative is huge. I would go during the daylight, and I would check my surroundings. I remember times there was like a van, like say I pulled in, there was not a big truck or van next to me. I would walk around to the back side and make sure I was clear. Or I've even looked under the car looking for feet. Yeah. Something that's I've done that.
That's good.
I have done that. Even in the rain. I remember like, why am I doing this? Because I'm a weirdo. I don't know. But I did that. And then I would put my little guy in the car. Yeah. And then I would pop back out. Once he's like got one of because there's usually like a chest strap, and then there's like the straps that go between the leg. I would do just one somewhere, just so I know he wouldn't climb out, fall out of the car. And then I would pop back out and I would get my situational awareness. And then I would go in for the second one. And that became a habit. And then I would and if the other kids were there, I would have them start unloading the groceries or put the groceries into the trunk of the car or on the other side of the street if I had my truck. And then I'm paying attention or I'm helping and I'm paying. I'm not like crazy looking around, but I'm like helping, joking around, messing with the kid, kind of taking a look at my shoulder. And it doesn't have to be crazy. It's just like every couple seconds. Or if I'm by myself, I'm getting the kid in the same way I described. And then I'm putting in a couple bags. I'm taking a look. I'm putting in a couple bags, taking a look. And sometimes, depending on the setup, I might even go as far as putting my shirt behind my pistol grip. Okay. So it's not obstructed by any clothing. I can just do a quick draw. Okay. Again, I would not do it to the point of brandishing, but if I felt something weird, like there was dudes around, which happens in the parking lot, they might be, who knows what they got going on. I would maybe do that. Okay. And I've done that. But I just want to speak on that because I do understand this quite a bit. And it is a scary, you got your kids. Yeah. You got your kids. And that is a great, somebody that's got my kid, we're we're probably going to do
Like, that's
anything
it. I mean,
to
that's
save
it.
them.
Yeah.
Like we're going to, unless you're a turd, then you won't.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, okay. That's my little piece on that.
Okay. I'm with you. I think I like the idea of putting the kids in first. Like, just take them out of the scenario as much as you can. Like, I imagine if you put your kids in first and then somebody comes up to you or whatever, I wouldn't be having the keys in the car because they're not going to be able to get to my car. So even if I have to move away from the car as I'm engaging them in a shooting or something like that, I can move myself away from the car so they're no longer shooting at the car. I know that they can't get in and take my car. I think meerkatting, like you were indicating, like where you just pop your head up and you're looking around.
I like that meerkatting.
I mean, it's true.
That's
it's
good.
true.
That's
Man.
good.
Like, just again, being aware and being able to call people out very quickly. If you get that first one buckled and you pop up and you see a guy coming towards you, I mean, damn, you can slam the door and lock it and then handle what you need to handle, even if you're wrong. I mean, better safe than sorry. I will tell you, when I was thinking about this, I could not imagine a scenario where I'm complying to the point of getting in the car and going somewhere else with them.
The only time I can see a little bit of compliance is if there's a gun somewhere on me. I'm going to act like I'm complying because mentally they're going to be like, all right, this guy's going to comply because they're wondering what's his reaction to a point to where because they don't know you're carrying. Right. To where I can get a weapon out or get something on them to disarm them or whatever. That's the only little piece.
Correct. I agree.
I agree with you. Like, I ain't going, man.
Yeah, because as they come up, they are ultra hyped. They're ultra amped because they don't know. In that moment, they don't know if they're going to fight or have to shoot or whatever, or if they're going to gain compliance. Like you said, give them a couple seconds of compliance so that you can. We've talked about OODA loop before. You can start getting your bearings and decide what your next action is. But compliance beyond trying to get the edge, like, it's just not happening.
If you think about it, and I'll mention this again, and I'll probably mention it every time. There's two types of, and you could definitely attest to this or not. Two types of criminals. There's the ones of like a target of opportunity, and there's ones that kind of case you out and like check you out, and they're more of a professional is what we would call it. No matter who it is, they have a plan up to a certain point.
Right.
I'm going to get this person, say they see you walk in the grocery store, when they come back in, I'm going to get them there. They have a plan. Yep. They have a plan all the way up until they start that engagement with you because they do not know what you are going to do.
Right.
Are you going to comply? Are you going to fight? Are you going to try to flee? They don't know that. Yeah. So you're both in a new game here. So think about that. Their mentality is totally off whack. They are going to be jacked. Yeah. They're going to be amped. And so are you. A little thing called adrenaline is going to be going off crazy. But just keep that in mind. Like, they don't have a plan. They don't know what you're going to do.
Right.
They don't. What they want you to do is do exactly what they say. That's what they kind of think is going to happen. But if you don't, man, time for them to hopefully they have contingencies, but actually hopefully not.
Well, that's what makes it, that's good and bad. Because like you said, if they've done it once, they've probably done it before, and they've been successful. Right? Especially the more bold they become, the more successful they've been in the past, right? True. So if they've been successful, they've likely encountered a whole lot of compliance, right? So that may be their predetermined notion that they're going to comply, which is great for us because we're not going to comply, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to comply to our advantage, and that's it. The fact that they don't have a contingency plan and they have a gun in their hand, that's it. That's what's going to be next. Mm-hmm. So make no mistake about it. He's not going to try to reason with you or anything like that. He's got A, they're going to do what I say. B, since I don't have a B, it's going to be to shoot. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. We see it all the time where the second, like in, let's say a gas station robbery, the second they don't get the compliance, they have nothing else to go to except shoot, right? Mm-hmm. So, they'll run up, try to shove a gun in somebody's face, and the second the fight starts, the shooting starts. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I would agree with you. I would do a little bit of compliance at first, just long enough for me to get to my gun. And I'm hoping that we've gotten to the point where the kid's already in the car, because that makes a big difference. I mean, if my kid's still in the car seat in the car, I mean, those are just things that you got to think about. You want to separate yourself far enough from the kids so bullets aren't heading their direction, but not so far that they can now be snatched. So it's just a terrible situation all the way around. But this scenario is such a huge highlight as to why you should be carrying.
And chances are, if you're giving resistance, it's probably not going to come down to bullets flying. Not saying that won't happen, but they're going to live to fight another day and live to find another victim. That's why we always say, be unattractive.
Yes.
As a victim or as another stat, be so ugly that the criminals don't want you. Like, do that stuff. That's why, like, working out, the way you carry yourself, all these things matter. If you're looking around, but someone would be like, okay, that guy's paying attention. Like, all those things do matter, and they are noticed by bad guys, minus maybe if they're hopped up on something or just totally mentally insane. But yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, part of law enforcement's use of force continuum is like level 1 is officer presence. Just how you carry yourself is an authority. Is an image of what you're capable of and what you're not so capable of. So that's what they teach us in the academy, is that, look, how you present yourself is a use of force. Yep. Because you are going to deter, people are going to size you up. People size you up all the time. And these crooks are doing the same thing. They're sizing up. They're looking for the weakest one out there that they think they're going to be able to get one over on. So
it's the same thing. You said the weakest one. If you don't ask me why this popped up, like sharks, lions, if they're like a lion's going after a bunch of wildebeest, they usually go for the baby or one that's wounded. Yep. Why? Because it's easy. Yep. A shark goes for baby or wounded seals. Yeah. We love we love seals. We love seals at all times, but or sea lions or whatever it is, like they go for the slow one or the weak one or the injured one because it's easy. Yep. Criminals are no different. They're the same exact thing. I mean, that'd be a good podcast. Talk about that whole little piece.
Oh, for sure.
That's a good one right there.
Yeah. Because these guys really aren't, they're not looking for resistance. And then again, like you said, if it's the professional, if they're there to do you harm, they're going to do it. If they're there to get something from you. In this situation, we do see it a lot where they are kind of doing these carjackings they either want your car or they want to, if they're trying to force you in the car, like in this scenario, they're trying to get you to then take them to ATMs and stuff like that and withdraw from your accounts. So there's just, especially with a kid along, there is no way.
It changes everything.
There's just no way there's compliance.
It does.
I'm getting into no car. There was one a few years ago in Dallas. I don't know all the particulars on it, but a lady got abducted with her child, and like her child's in the back seat, and at a stoplight she bails out and takes off. I mean,
kid in tow?
Kid stayed in the car. Ugh. So there's no way that's just not in me to do. And I don't think it's in most people. So again, I don't know all the circumstances of that.
Now I'm curious, what happened? Do we know?
So they found the kid okay.
Okay.
But the guy took the car with the kid in it and then dumped it a few miles away. But just to leave your kid alone, that's just not in me. It's not going to happen. So
if you told that story without knowing the ending, I would have been like, dude, why'd you even bring it up?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'd be like, I don't know.
Like, dude, we need to find this out. Right? We got to Google. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's things change as simple as going to a grocery store by myself or with you versus me going to the grocery store with my wife and children or with my children. Yeah. Like the dynamics change. And you got to think that way. That's why we talk about the assets and liabilities. Children are liabilities. Most of the time they're liabilities. Like we've got to protect them. They really can't protect us.
Yeah. Oh, no, not at all.
So it's, unless you're like that one lady that just bailed out and left her kid. Like,
I'm telling you.
It's ridiculous, man. Again, are you good on this one?
I think so. I mean, just hitting on it again. Like, be aware. Don't be that slow wildebeest.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
You know what I mean?
Like they're like, how do you fight a bear attack? Don't be the slowest dude or girl. Like just run faster than that to get your buddy. Like that's how you win. But seriously, like there's so many situations. Certain. What if this? Yes, you're right. You're 100%. But what would you know your lifestyle, you know the layout of your grocery store, you know where you usually park, and somewhere you're like, what if I travel? Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, figure it out. But you know that situation. You've got to be like, okay, next time you go to the grocery store, where should I park? Like he said to park there. Is there shrubs blocking this?
Right.
Is there trees in the way? Like all these things like come together and form your situation. So just something to be thinking about. So, but yeah, that's one that's been discussed
A
lot. I hope we cleared up some stuff on that one. I think we did. And if there's comments, questions, please, fill them in wherever you're at YouTube. We check, or you can just message us on Instagram or Facebook, for Contingent Group or Unafraid. All right. You want to lead this? This is the last one we have. This is, dude, you're going to get this one.
This is, just essentially a bar fight. So you're out with your friends at a bar, watching the game. On your way back to your table, from getting another round, you accidentally bump into somebody. You apologize, but they're not having it. He knocks the drinks out of your hand, and things start to escalate. What's your move? So, this is, it happens all the time. You're in a bar. People are drinking. It is what it is. You're bound to bump into somebody, but there's always that one dude that just can't let things go. So now that you've encountered this situation, you're like, hey, bad, my bad. And they smack the drinks out of your hand.
I've had this situation happen probably more than once. And some of it was probably me.
I was going to say, which guy are you?
That's, okay. Before we start this conversation, what we discussed at breakfast about training. All right. So there is a difference between training in martial arts, self-defense training, and reality. There is a difference. All right. We'll take jiu-jitsu, for example. I do jiu-jitsu and striking and all those things. And there's rules. Like jiu-jitsu is not really worried about striking. Like no one's coming down on elbows with me as I'm on my ground, or no one's going to be coming at me with an eye gouge or ripping off an ear, ripping back my nose. All these things are not allowed in like traditional jiu-jitsu. Self-defense is a little bit different, right? You can't do those things in competition, which makes it the sport, right? And I'm not bashing that stuff. I think it's awesome, but there needs to be a mindset switch from training for competition or to learn, because we just can't, I can't like gouge your eyes out in training, because I probably won't see you for a while and you probably want to shoot me, right?
I won't see you at all.
I'll have a grocery store scenario. And then there's reality. Reality is that it's great to train. It is great to train, but someone that does not train is going to come at me or come at you with something that's going to give them something to get victory. Mm-hmm. So that may be a knife, that may be a gun, that may be running you over with a vehicle.
Yep.
Why would they want to come at you if they're not trained and they don't feel like they could win? So as a competitive MMA guy, jiu-jitsu guy, Muay Thai, boxing, taekwondo, karate, aikido, anything that I did not mention, you got to keep that in mind. Reality is way different. You could be posing up to get ready to go, and all of a sudden they got a 15-second fury on you, and you're worried to get all technique when they just blitzed you and destroyed you. And all of a sudden you're on your ground or on your back on the ground, and now everyone in this bar or wherever you are starts trampling over you because everyone's scrambling like they lose their mind, that we often see. So I want to put that out there, that you need to think that, and I'm not discrediting competitive MMA, mixed martial arts stuff at all. I think it's great. We personally do it. I think it's wonderful, but you need to understand that broken beer bottles or Pilsner glasses are not usually seen on the jiu-jitsu match or on the jiu-jitsu mat. They're just not seen there. All right. So keep that in mind. Okay. Back to the scenario. All right. So old Eddie, I would punch.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
100%.
Right off the bat.
Yes, you would.
But now that I don't frequent that, I don't drink, and I have matured, I'd like to say, I would offer my apology. So if I'm coming back with drinks, I'm probably a Topo Chico with lime for me, and I'm bringing back beers for the boys, and that happens, there probably would be that second, like, dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
But I'd be like, my apologies. And I've had both where the dude did not stop. And that's usually where the punch happens because I'd like to end it before it begins. But now I would be like, hey, I apologize. I'm sorry about that. Can I get you a beer maybe? Mm-hmm. And if it's his fault, usually they're like, hey, dude, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Like, no big deal, dude. I'll just go get another round. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Not a big deal. Yeah. And, but if say it doesn't, it escalates, I'm going to avoid. I'm going to be like, my bad, dude. Sorry. Yeah. And I'm going to back out. Does that mean I'm cowering down? No. It means I don't want to get in a huge fight. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to get sued. I don't want to pay all this money. And I don't want it to be on my record, messes up my job, messes up my family, whatever it may be. Like the list goes on and on for these pathetic, or my face gets jacked up because he's not by himself. He's with like 20 freaking MMA fighters or whatever. Like, you don't know, or they're carrying a gun or they got a knife. Yeah. I mean, one stab, like that could be the end of you. Yeah. One bullet could be the end of you. Like, oh, I won't die. Okay, cool. Maybe you're paralyzed. That's even worse. Like you spend the rest of your life drooling on yourself. Yeah. Like you got to think about that stuff. Like is that the hill you really want to die on?
Right.
I mean, that's my take.
Yeah.
But dude, I've been, not good, but
you're going to most dudes are going to want to fight.
Pride.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Pride, machismo,
ego,
all that stuff. But like you said, in that moment, you got to be like, is this the hill I'm willing to die on? Like, I don't care what this guy thinks of me. I don't care what the bar thinks of me. There's so many variables in a place like that where it's, everything's a weapon. Bar stools, like you said, you don't know how many guys they have. I mean, my lady friend likes my face the way that it is.
Right. I like your face the way it is too. So like, rock on.
I don't want it messed up, And it's just kind of like whatever. Yeah. Even if you win the fight, like
it doesn't matter.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Like big deal.
It was cool. It was cool in like grade school and high school.
Yeah.
Like meet you, by the tennis courts at 3:00.
Yeah. I just want to get back to my drink over at the table.
Exactly. Watch the game.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Like. And that's another thing. People get all amped up in the game. Little comments are going, and the one comment leads to more comments.
Yeah.
We're getting boom, and we're just leveling up when we're supposed to be de-escalating. Yeah. We usually go the opposite way.
Yeah.
And that's on you to de-escalate and avoid at all costs. It really, go to another bar or go to your house or it's just, dude, it's not worth it. Nope. If you think getting a beer bottle stuck in your neck where you could possibly bleed out at Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever, wherever you're at, is worth it, then like rock on. But it's not. It's not. And I think you know that. Especially if children, like what example is that? Like what would you tell your children? What would you tell your good friend in that situation? If you were not in that situation, what would you tell them? And I know it's hard.
Yeah.
Somebody runs their mouth and you're like, dude, I will freaking destroy you. Like I get it. I really do. But it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's very ignorant and moronic to do.
It is. And some of the people there's a lot of good comments that I read on this one. Most of them were, hey, like de-escalate, offer to buy them some drinks. There were a few in there where it's like, that's why I trained, throat punch it's like, it sounds cool in a comment on Instagram, but in reality, I'm not going to jail because this guy's a jerk or, because he knocked the drinks out of my hand, like big deal. All right, I'm going to go spend $20, buy some more drinks, and then just move on about my day.
How many stories have you heard where it's a standard fist fight, someone hits somebody in a perfect way that kills them, and they end up in jail?
It
happens.
We've had it all the time.
It happens quite a bit. You think it's a normal fist fight, and I think that's a great solution for sure. I'm not against it. But in these kind of situations, if you think hitting someone cannot kill them, it can.
Yep.
In that special way. Maybe they have a certain condition you don't know about, whatever it may be, and you kill them. You just got nailed for what? Murder, right?
Yeah, that or probably manslaughter.
Regardless, I'm going to prison.
Yep.
And paying something.
Yep.
Chances are.
Yep.
Then you got civil suits, right?
Yep.
So all these things, it's just not worth that one punch.
Yep.
One punch. Or you push them, they trip, they fall, they bang their head.
That's the big one.
And you just pushed them. Yeah. That's all you did, but you caused it. Therefore, same thing, right?
Yep. That's what happens. Because
you're accountable.
He's drunk, so he's not going to be able to stand up. You punch him, you hit the button, and he gets knocked out. Or like you said, you push him, he trips and falls, smokes his head on the bar, smokes his head on the concrete or the floor, and he dies. You're responsible for it. Like that's on you.
It's not worth it. And again, we're kind of really talking to you men out there, but some of you ladies are little cat fighters. You're little cray cray sometimes, but it's just not worth it. We feel with you of like, dude, don't be pushing me. Don't be testing me. And you want to freaking pounce. We get it. We are often put in those situations, and you've got to be the bigger person and take the high road. Now, all that being said, is there a time we need to throw down?
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
If you cannot get out, if you can't back out, if you can't de-escalate, then you have to do what you got to do to defend yourself and nothing more.
And get out. Defend yourself to get out.
Yep.
Now, sometimes you got to start jacking some people up. Yeah, you do. Yeah. But your ultimate goal should be like to get you and whoever your loved ones, say you're there with the wife or kids, like hopefully not the kids, is get them out of the situation. That is the goal, is to boom, boom. All right, we're rolling. That's it.
Yep. There's no trash talk after. There's no standing over them. There's no when they're falling, you're kicking them while they're down. There's no defending that.
Yep.
So if you're going to go, when the cops show up, you're going to say like, look, hey, I tried to do everything that I could. I tried to back up. I tried to de-escalate. He chased me down. He pulled me, he turned me back around. I smoked him once in the face and he fell over and then I backed away. That's understandable. Like, you had to defend yourself. If you continue and you just make it an all-out brawl and you make it a bar fight, it's just not. There's no defending it. Mm-hmm. There just isn't. Nobody, no cop, and the court of law is not going to care that you got butt hurt because somebody spilled your drinks or called you a mean name.
100%. And I've got a story on this. So I've never told this story on any podcast or anything, but we're going to do it right now. So I was traveling with my Tier 1 Navy SEAL unit to, we'll just say the center of the United States for a school out there. And it was a Friday. We went out to a bar and there was probably, I think about 6 to 8 of us. All right. So we're all drinking in this circle, and somewhere, 2 guys went out to go do something, like go around, mingle, go get drinks. And something happened with a bouncer. I don't know the story because I wasn't part of that group. I was in the main circle. I was at home base while we're sending out our little recon patrols, doing their thing, getting drinks. And they came back and they were discussing about whatever happened. The music's playing. You really don't know how to get it. And then this very out of shape bouncer comes over. Actually, I think there was 2 of them come over, like, dude, what? And they're like talking like, hey, you can't be doing that. And they're like, please be quiet. This was years ago, by the way.
I'm sure that's what it was. I'm sure it was, please, sir.
So, like, dude, get the F away. Like, we don't want, it was definitely like that. So those 2 leave and we're like, dude, what idiots. And we're going back to our little circle of drinking, telling war stories or whatever we're talking about. And then before we all knew it, because situational awareness was not turned on and we were focusing on drinking, we were surrounded by, honestly, 12 to 15 bouncers, all in black shirts, black pants. And I didn't really realize it. I'm like, I see a few of them and I'm like kind of concentrate on the guy that's talking. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know there was dudes behind me. Before I knew it, I'm choked out on my back. I got 2 other dudes holding my arms down and I've got a thumb going in my eyeball. It was bad enough where I couldn't see for like 4 days straight. Like I was like, dude, I'm gonna lose my vision. I mean, I don't know how everyone fared. It was bad enough we had to fight our way out of this gaggle and make our way out a back door, a back exit, which is another important thing to know, is where the exits are. But my point is we got to jack up some people, but I got jacked up. It could have been bad enough where I lost my eyeball, and that wasn't worth it. I was an innocent bystander on that one occasion. There's been many where I've not been so innocent, but on that situation with strong, trained, tough dudes, that happened just by basic of numbers, and it was on. Yeah. And I had no clue what was going on, but that happened. So I know people think, well, you're a Navy SEAL, like all this stuff, or you're a cop and you know all this stuff. Like it happens to everybody. Mm-hmm. No one knows your resume when they come do whatever they do. They don't know your resume, and they honestly don't care at some points. Yeah. So I had to throw that out there because it does happen to the best of us. I've been jumped in Chicago by dudes that pulled up in 3 Yukon/Suburbans, and me and one other friend got our butts kicked, totally knocked out, pulled glass out of face, broken eye sockets, broken ankle, all kinds of things. So I've been in some stuff too. It happens to us all. And that was also bad, poor situational awareness. Both of them, bad times.
Did you just say it happens to us all that 3 Yukons jump out?
No, maybe not that.
Downtown Chicago.
Getting jacked up sometimes happens to us all. Not that. That was a organized gang. It was a gang that did all that stuff. But like there's situations out there, and you can't help it.
Yeah.
You can't help it. I could have avoided that. And the fact is, I've heard this saying, it's so true. Nothing good happens really after midnight.
It's so true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Like usually your movies are open at the movie or over at your movie theater.
Yep.
Right. The only thing that's happened is people getting tore up and chasing tail and starting fights.
Yeah.
That's really all that comes up.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yeah, being home. That's so funny. That's a good point. Being home before midnight will save you from a ton of stuff. Even stuff just spilling over into your innocent bystander. So, you could be, like you said, an innocent bystander in something and still get jacked up just because of what does happen after in the late hours when everybody's super drunk. And just get home.
Yep. I'm with you. So do you have anything different on that stuff? What do you?
No, I'm with you on all of that.
I mean, the big thing is like there may become a time. That's why we talk about, you told the OODA loop is like, you got your white, your yellow, or your orange, and your red. When we get to that red, that's fight. But our goal is to get back down to white as soon as possible. For sure. Like de-escalate, and just get out.
Yeah.
With our valuables, which is usually our significant other or children.
Correct.
And our own life.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
Just like you said, is this dude worth going to jail for, or like getting stabbed for, or whatever? It's just because at the end of the day, if you avoid this situation, it's going to sting while you're in it. It's going to hurt your pride while you're in that moment. Another drink later, and you're not going to care, and you sure as heck won't care the next day. Like you're not going to hang on to that.
Mm-hmm.
So just walk away.
Those are good ones, man. Those are good. Those are like, real ones. If you have, let's do a post. I'll do a post. Contingent group will do a post.
Okay.
Asking for ideas, like what they want to see, because just based off of like, hey, what has happened in your life, and comment, and maybe we'll use that as a scenario, and we'll talk about it on here. But there's tons of scenarios, and we all live through different ones. Like, tell us about it. Be descriptive, so we know exactly what it is, time of day, what you're wearing, who you're with, all that crazy stuff. So
that'd be cool.
Anything else, man?
No, thanks.
Rock on, dude. I appreciate your value, and also like I should have mentioned this at the beginning. If you didn't watch our last podcast on this, Josh is a cop, and how long have you been a cop?
19 years. 19
years, detective work and all that stuff. So we brought him. He's coming on here as a guest to help us out, getting a totally different perspective from the door kicker SEAL guy that sees these things on a daily basis, pretty much. So that's why we want his wisdom and knowledge. And I think you always provide it, man. This is only the second one we've done, but like the stuff you put out, especially the witness stuff on the first one.
Sure.
I was like taking okay, I didn't even think about that. Like, so we appreciate you being on here, dude. It's great to have you on here.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for wearing that cool shirt.
I got it. Support.
Why are you rubbing your chest?
Support. I'm rubbing Unafraid.
All right, guys, take it easy and be safe.